Picture this, a quiet, tree-lined street in Willow Creek, a cozy suburb just outside Seattle, Washington, where the houses are neat, the lawns are trimmed, and everyone waves like they mean it. It's the kind of place you move to for a fresh start, a slice of the American dream. That's what I thought when my wife, Sarah Thompson, and I settled into our new home in the spring of 2023. I'm Michael Carter, a 35-year-old software developer who works from home, juggling code and client calls while trying to keep the coffee pot from running dry. Sarah, my rock, is a staff sergeant in the U.S. Army, a woman who thrives under pressure and handles classified assignments like it's just another day at the office. But when she left for a 6-month deployment to Qatar in April 2023, our idyllic neighborhood turned into a battlefield, and I found myself at war with the last person you'd expect, our HOA president, Linda Harper. Linda was the kind of neighbor who seemed perfect at first glance, always polished, always smiling, always clutching a clipboard like she was running for mayor. But there was something about her eyes, sharp and calculating, like she was mentally filing away every detail of your life for later use. When Sarah left for her assignment, I promised to keep things low-key about her work. "Michael," she'd said, folding her uniforms with precision, "you know how nosy people get about military stuff? Just say I'm traveling for work. Nothing fancy." I nodded, thinking it'd be easy to keep things vague. I mean, how hard could it be to dodge a few curious neighbors? Turns out, I was dead wrong. It started 2 weeks after Sarah's car vanished from our driveway. I was chatting with Tom Bradley, a retired electrician who lived next door and had a knack for fixing anything with a plug. Solid guy, the kind you'd share a beer with. Then Linda appeared, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Michael, darling," she said, and I swear nobody calls me darling except Sarah. "I haven't seen Sarah lately. Everything okay?" Her tone was all concern, but her eyes were sizing me up like I was hiding something. I gave her the line, "Sarah's traveling for work. Everything's fine." But Linda's smile tightened, and she tilted her head, like she was already spinning a story in her mind. "Oh, what kind of work keeps someone away so long? Must be unusual." That pause before unusual felt like a jab, and I knew right then she wasn't going to let this go. Over the next few weeks, Linda's curiosity turned into a full-blown investigation. She'd ask pointed questions. "Where's Sarah from originally?" I mean, before she moved to Washington. When I explained Sarah liked to keep her work private, she'd nod with this smug, "Of course, some people aren't as open about their lives, are they?" It was subtle, but the implication was clear. She was fishing for dirt, and my vague answers were only fueling her suspicions. Then I started noticing her patterns. Every morning at 7:30 sharp, she'd stroll by our house, clipboard in hand, slowing down just enough to peer into our windows or check if my trash cans were an inch too far from the curb. One day, I caught her measuring the distance with a tape measure, waving cheerfully when she saw me. "Just ensuring compliance, Michael," she called out, like digging through my life was part of her job description. It got creepier when Tom tipped me off about her social media sleuthing. Sarah had gone dark online months before her deployment standard for her job's security protocols. But Linda was asking neighbors if they'd seen any recent posts. "It's odd when someone just disappears from social media, don't you think?" she'd say, her voice heavy with fake concern. "Makes you wonder what they're hiding." Her comments started getting uglier, always wrapped in that polished veneer of community care. "Maybe she went back to where she feels more at home," she'd whisper to neighbors, emphasizing more at home, like it was code for something sinister. When pressed, she'd backpedal. "Oh, I just meant people from different backgrounds." Cultural differences can be so tricky, right? The racism was never overt, but it was there, sharp and insidious, cutting through her fake smiles. Things escalated when I overheard her talking about preserving our neighborhood's character on the sidewalk, not even bothering to lower her voice. "We need residents who share our values," she said, her words dripping with judgment. My hands shook with anger, but I kept my cool, knowing I had to play this smart. That night, I called Sarah on our secure line and spilled everything. I'd been downplaying it to avoid stressing her out, but this was beyond nosy neighbor nonsense. "Michael," she said, her voice like steel, "document every single thing this woman does. Every question, every violation notice, every sideways glance. When I get back, we're handling this." Her confidence was a lifeline, but I had no idea just how far Linda would go. By month 3, Linda was in full detective mode, and it was terrifying. I caught her rifling through my trash one morning, pulling out envelopes like she expected to find state secrets among my pizza boxes. When she saw me watching, she waved like it was normal. "Just checking the pickup, Michael," she chirped. Tom caught her photographing my discarded mail, too, and warned me, "She's building a case on you, man. This isn't just curiosity." She even dug into public records, noticing Sarah's name was temporarily off our utilities, a standard military procedure for her deployment. To Linda, it was proof of some shady scam. "Michael, darling," she cornered me one day, "I noticed some changes in your property records. Everything's stable financially." Her fake concern made my skin crawl. Her campaign got uglier. She hosted community coffee chats, where she'd speculate about Sarah's absence, planting seeds of doubt. "Has anyone actually seen Mrs. Carter lately? Government contractor work sounds so vague, doesn't it?" She turned neighbors against us, framing it as protecting community standards. People who used to wave now avoided me, crossing the street like I was contagious. Linda's neighborhood watch became a surveillance network, logging my visitors and photographing delivery trucks. When she started questioning my mail carrier about my packages, I knew she'd crossed a line. Even worse, she called my company, hinting I was unstable, which forced me to explain my personal life to my boss. The humiliation burned, but it lit a fire in me. With Tom's advice, I started recording every interaction, every violation notice, every fake smile. Month 4 was when Linda weaponized the system. She called in wellness checks from the police, and Officer Daniels would show up, looking embarrassed. "Just following up on reports, Mr. Carter," he'd say, clearly uncomfortable. By the 4th visit in 2 weeks, I knew Linda was using the cops as her personal harassment squad. She filed complaints with code enforcement, too, nitpicking my lawn's height or mailbox placement. Once, she even reported child welfare concerns to CPS, despite us having no kids. The CPS worker was baffled, checking her paperwork like it was a mistake. Linda's tactics were relentless, but her biggest blunder came when she filed a false police report, claiming I'd threatened her. Lucky for me, I had a recorded client call proving I was at my desk the entire time. When I showed Officer Daniels, his face hardened. "Mr. Carter, we need to talk about false reporting. This is more complicated than we thought." By month 5, Sarah's return was imminent, and Linda was gearing up for her grand finale. She'd convinced herself Sarah wasn't really my wife, and her welcoming committee was ready to expose some imagined fraud. She coordinated with Officer Daniels for a police presence, and her followers patrolled our street like it was a sting operation. Tom, my secret ally, infiltrated her meetings and reported back. "She's unhinged, Michael. She thinks Sarah's a fake or won't show up at all." Linda even tipped off a local reporter, framing it as a story about neighborhood vigilance. The tension was unbearable, like waiting for a storm to break. Then came Saturday, October 14th, 2023, under a crisp Washington sky. Sarah's taxi pulled into our driveway at 10:15 a.m., and she stepped out, calm and composed in jeans and a t-shirt, but with that unmistakable military posture. Linda's crew was ready, phones out, cameras rolling, like they were filming a crime scene. Linda marched over, Officer Daniels trailing reluctantly, and shouted, "We need to verify this woman's identity." The crowd neighbors I'd known for years watched, some excited, some uneasy. Sarah hugged me, her body tense but her eyes sharp, scanning the scene like a battlefield. "Officer," Sarah said, her voice steady as she reached for her purse, "I'm happy to cooperate." She pulled out her Department of Defense ID, the blue card gleaming with her rank, Staff Sergeant Sarah Thompson, U.S. Army. The crowd went silent. Linda's face drained of color, her phone slipping from her hand and hitting the pavement with a crack. "I'm Staff Sergeant Sarah Thompson," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the tension. "I've just returned from a 6-month deployment in Qatar, serving my country. My husband respected my request to keep my service private, as is my right." Officer Daniels' jaw tightened, his embarrassment turning to anger. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry," he said. "We had no idea you were active duty. There's been a serious misunderstanding." Linda's world crumbled in real time. "I was protecting our community," she stammered, her voice cracking. She should have been upfront about her background. "People need to fit in here." Her words, raw with prejudice, hung in the air, and neighbors cringed, their phones capturing every second. The tide turned fast. People who'd backed Linda slunk away, while others approached us, apologizing and thanking Sarah for her service. Tom stepped forward, his voice booming. This woman turned a military family's life into a circus based on nothing but her own biases. We all let this go too far. The fallout was swift. My attorney, who'd been reviewing my documentation, arrived to take statements, calling it a clear case of harassment and discrimination. The HOA suspended Linda, and within a week, Tom was elected president, vowing inclusivity. Linda moved away after legal settlements and community rejection. Her house was bought by a retired Navy couple, welcomed with open arms. Our neighborhood transformed, with new policies supporting military families and a barbecue to celebrate Sarah's return. Sarah settled back in, balancing community life with her privacy, while I learned the power of allies like Tom and standing up to bullies. But here's where it gets real. What would you do if you found out your neighbor was targeting someone based on nothing but assumptions? Would you speak up, like Tom, or stay silent to avoid the drama? Have you ever faced a Linda in your own life, someone who hides their prejudice behind community standards? Drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe if you believe truth and courage can change a community. Let's hear your stories. What's the wildest neighbor drama you've ever seen?